Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, bringing you a special 420 production, a live get together to talk a little bit about a review of the middleweight division here.
Yeah, we're going to recap the last three cards, not including the Stipe and Ngannou pay-per-view. And I'm really excited to do that with you. We're here. We got some time off on 420. And I guess we naturally should start with the most recent fight. And that would be the Whittaker Gastelum fight. And Whittaker looked sharp, man. I mean, he looked as good as ever.
Yeah, I was really impressed. We knew going in that he was going to, come out and show a lot and try to bring his best performance out. But I think he topped what anyone really imagined, just especially, Gastelum. I thought he could have went down a couple of times, but he just really displayed that his chin has returned and is back on another level.
His chin is his head. His head is so big. It's like a fire hydrant or something. He's got a chin of granite. So shout out Kelvin Gastelum. He put up a really great fight. But Whittaker, man, looked as dominant as ever. Has now defended his number one contender spot 3 times, which I think is. Can you tell me any other number one contender that's defended their spot 3 times? I don't. In recent memory,
especially the guys that he signed up to fight, because he was ready to go in there against Paulo Costa, who had to pull out, and maybe it might be interesting to think about the type of power advantage Costa would have had in the small cage, but you could see just the feints being put out there. Whittaker came out there much more relaxed. You could see he's done a lot of work on the mental side of things, and I really think he's at a great point to really get that rematch back. I think that's what I want to see.
I absolutely agree. There is no other fight. The Whittaker fight is the fight. The Whittaker Adesanya fight is the fight. That's the fight to make. I know that other people maybe want to see Vettori now, but in my opinion, Vettori needs one more win. I think maybe he should just fight Darren Till. I think maybe the fight that's still the fight.
Would be really interesting to me. I'm not sure how long is Paulo Costa out for, because I saw online, Brunson's getting a little bit, full of himself here, which I really enjoy. I really think it's great. But he's calling out Costa. But if he's not ready, why not Vettori? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Which fight?
Brunson and Vettori.
Brunson and Vettori?
Oh, yeah, we're looking at the number 3 and the number 5.
Definitely. I actually do want to see that fight.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Both guys just fought Holland. Both guys went to decision with Holland. These are a couple fights that actually inspired us to do this podcast in general.
Let me get a pen. I want to write this shit down. So we don't talk over the same shit again. So I want that matchup. I think that's really the matchup. If we're playing Sean Shelby, and I think this is part of the podcast, we got Brunson versus Vettori.
Yeah.
Okay.
So matchmakers, and obviously at the top we had Adesanya.
And that's 5 versus 3.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Matchup. And at the top we got Whittaker
and Adesanya. You got to see that one next, right? That I think we finally heard Whittaker truly call out for it. Maybe he wasn't the most aggressive about it in the past, but I really think at this point I want to see Whittaker back in there. I think he's in the right state of mind to make it happen.
I couldn't agree more with that. I know that Whittaker has shown the chin. He's shown all the things that he's really needed to show. I mean, did you not see that performance? I mean, he broke Cannonier's arm in that first round, and I can't say enough about his performance against Kelvin. He just picked him apart in every area, shut him down. It was truly a remarkable performance. There is no other fight for Izzy. Izzy needs to come back and now reassert his dominance after a tough loss. I think if Whittaker maybe uses some offensive wrestling, it could maybe pose a threat now. Maybe there's a possible weakness there. Am I
I could see. Well, that's if I think they're gonna fight in the larger size cage. So we saw Adesanya fight in the smaller octagon for the first time. That was a little bit interesting against Blachowicz. He was also giving up a lot of size. Now he has his normal height and reach advantages back against Whittaker. So I think he still is going to have, a lot of the same advantages he had in the first fight, but I think at least Whittaker won't be getting knocked out at the end of the first round and the beginning of the second round because, let's be honest, if that fight keeps on going another 5 seconds, the ref's jumping in and stopping it, right? At the end of the first round when Adesanya knocks down Whittaker.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. That was a knock. That was going to be a knockout.
Yeah.
Whittaker was already done after that first round. The problem I see for Whittaker, as I'm one of his biggest fans, though, he has such a problem with long, rangy, tough strikers. He got knocked out by Wonder Boy, and he's got knocked out by Adesanya. So it's clearly a problem, and I'm not sure that he's able to overcome that fundamental problem. But he deserves another chance at it. It's been enough time. That's the fight to make. Maybe you make that in like October or November, and you do that in a stadium. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah, so for me, now we're talking about the 3 and 5 as a matchup. Number 4 is Jared Cannonier. We just mentioned him and the injury he suffered back in October. So facing Whittaker then, really dealing with, complete fracture of his forearm from what we saw. And he had a really big welt above his eye. I think he might have had an orbital fracture there as well. Suffered a couple injuries there, and it could be a little while until we see him back. It might be after one of these matchups that's scheduled here in the next couple weeks that we see him in there.
It's been nearly a year since we've seen him, so I'm sure he has to be eyeing a comeback soon, or would have had some sort of setback. Cannonier's a tough guy to make a matchup with, because when you're number 4 and you're Cannonier, as much as I like the guy, and as much as Izzy wanted to fight him, and that's a big draw, he's not a big draw. So, who do you put him up against if you could book him? Paulo Costa? I don't know that I love that matchup. It certainly doesn't titillate many fans. Darren Till, the gorilla versus the other gorilla.
Yeah, the killer gorilla versus the gorilla. I don't know. I really, just going through like Cannonier's Instagram and seeing what's going on with him, I just, there's not too much posted there. He's not too active on it. Seems like, he's kind of staying...
Other than posting that the COVID vaccine is not...
Right, a lot more active on his story.
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
certainly interesting. But, for me, I guess, like I said, I haven't really seen anything indicating that he's ready to come back. So unless we get a surprise booking, could see something crazy happen. But as far as another matchup I'd like to see, you just mentioned Darren Till. Say that...
Should he be fighting Paulo Costa? Is that the fight?
I don't know.
Do they have any heat there? There's not enough heat there.
He broke his collarbone, so could he be out on a similar timeline, a few months here probably till he gets back and into training? So could it be Costa? Because Costa had to pull out for his own reasons against Whittaker. I mean, it would be interesting to see. I'm just not sure that they give Till that kind of matchup here.
What do we want to see Till in, though?
Till, I could say that, say Gastelum wants to take a little time off here. No one wants to see that fight again. You could cross off for Manson. Maybe the winner of Hall and Weidman, because you got...
Winner of Hall and Weidman.
Yeah,
as long as that's not a complete shit show.
Well, Till's at 6 and Hall's at 9 and Weidman's at 11, so it's not that big of a stretch. But I think that... if Till's going to have to be on the sideline here, it might just match up with one of those guys. I wouldn't really lock him into anything. Maybe would Kevin Holland not be interesting when he comes back off of his hiatus?
Holland's taking some time off, too.
Yeah.
Oh, so who else was taking some time off? Who did we say that? Was that Till?
Well, Till has the injury.
So Till Holland?
And then Gastelum is probably going to take a little time off after the beating he took.
No Gastelum.
Jack Hermanson is matched up against Shabazian already.
Let me write that down.
So that's a 7 versus 10 matchup. And then you have another couple of matchups that were pretty interesting here. I saw Omari Akhmedov was matched up against Brad Tavares.
Oh, is that really happening?
Yeah. We got the number 13 versus number 14. It should be a good sign of if Tavares's takedown defense was really that good, or if Antonio Carlos Jr.'s takedown offense was just that bad. And I think it's more of the latter. But I think, I think Akhmedov is going to win that one off the top of my head. And then you have Strickland, who is fighting next weekend. And we very interested to see him out there. It's Christoph Jocko coming off having to recently pull out of a fight himself.
That's who I was wondering who Strickland was fighting. I was going to ask you. I said, I know that Strickland is fighting. I just didn't remember who.
Yeah, so if he gets a win, that could be another person that you can maybe see face the winner of the Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Sean Strickland is definitely someone that's been growing as a fan favorite ever since he came back from his injury, especially in the quiet era of the Apex, a lot of trash talking. Sean Strickland.
Oh my God. Him versus, that's the fight actually. Oh, I wish they didn't book him with Jocko. Strickland versus, I guess he'd probably grapple fuck him, right? Holland? I just want to see them yell at each other.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I think you might see the loudest match outside of like actual strikes, just like the yapping back and forth. You might see some double birds flipped.
Oh, definitely. I definitely would. They would be very charged with each other. I would want to see that kind of energy. But seriously, who do we? Till. I guess you're right. Maybe Till versus Costa when they can come back.
Yeah, that should be entertaining.
We haven't seen Costa, right? Is there anything about him that he wants to fight anytime soon? Because he pulled out because he was sick.
Right. Yeah, he was still dealing with the after effects of COVID and trying to train when he was still sick. And we saw what happened with Shemaev, and then now it's Costa. And some guys might not really be taking the proper time off before coming back, and it's rather unfortunate. But he might be out just a tiny bit longer, getting back to full strength. Especially such a big guy cutting that much weight. It's tough for him to not be 100%.
So, what are we talking about again?
Yeah, we were talking about Costa and Till potentially, but Till's got to get healthy too with the collarbone.
Till, I would think. I honestly think that Costa is sick. You know what I mean? He didn't want that sauce from Whittaker. How could you? So, Kelvin did because he's a sick fuck, and he really thought that he could win that fight. Costa knows he can't. So, I think Till and Costa is actually the fight. I'm gonna write that down because that's the fight.
Yeah, Till's very popular. He's got a big backing, especially with all the England market, and then Costa. He just fought for the title in his last fight, didn't do well, but he's got plenty of fans out there.
Without question, that can be a fight night main event anytime.
Yeah,
I would say. I really do like that. And I was thinking for Gastelum, he should, as long as the loser doesn't retire, he should face the loser of Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
Because he go back to what he's used to, finishing off legends. Because he hasn't finished either of them. So the loser of that gives him a chance to give somebody else another retirement fight. And that will be maybe December, right? Because if the Shabazi and Weidman fight is happening now, I would think that the winner would probably want to fight at least once more this. Well, realistically, they'll get, if they're lucky, one more fight this year.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that really kind of wraps up the matchups there in the top 15. Were there any guys at middleweight specifically? I mean, there aren't any that really jump out to me at the moment that I think are going to make a quick run, especially for the title or anything. But I just think that, it'll be nice to see Adesanya back defending his belt. And I really think that Whittaker made the improvements to make it a much more competitive fight this time.
Without question, I cannot wait to see it. We really diced up this division good, man. I'm really pleased with how this all went.
Yeah, so I guess was there anything that really stood out to you like the past couple weeks, like any big burns as far as like any bets went, or anything that just really bothered you in the MMA space before we get to our next pay per view. I mean,
There's so many
the
things.
tough booking. We have the Ultimate Fighter coming back with Volkanovski and Ortega, and that's very exciting.
How about the Jacob Malkoun fight? I feel like that fight's always low key worth like a, because we knew Al Hassan is dog shit. I didn't play any money on him by round one. I knew when I heard everybody saying that was not a play for me.
Yeah, it gets very scary when you're dealing with like, man, someone's history and what they haven't done in years. And Malkoun showed us the absolute worst of his performances, and then he showed us one of the best game plans you could have for the moment. So you got to take your hat off to him. I was also, just feeling like Herb Dean, might have missed a tap in the Gerald Meerschaert fight, possibly.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why we saw, a little night for Fabinski. I was very happy to make the call on the submission.
How about the? Why was the Tracy Cortez fight a split decision? Do you agree with that? Like that?
Yeah, I thought scoring it live that Cortez had won just straight up, unanimous decision. I thought she did a little bit more activity-wise, but I could see, as far as maybe scoring the damage and how that went, I could see where Kish did land some of the bigger shots in round two. But for my money, I was not sitting there nervous.
Meanwhile, I haven't rewatched the fight, and let's just be honest. We should talk about this now because we're not going to talk about it at any other point. This was a little bullshit. Let's be real. There were 4 straight split decisions on this card. This card was fishy as fuck, including a technical split decision because Romanov pulled a Aljamain Sterling, Leonardo DiCaprio, Actor of the Year.
Yeah, all right. Listen, I get that probably hurt, but man, it didn't seem like the most debilitating of shots that I've ever seen. And seeing how big Romanov's mouth was wide, breathing and just looking just exhausted, and that seemed like an out for him. He starts asking what the rules are. He starts seeing what would happen if you can't continue, and that just it gives me serious Georges Danho vibes.
You cannot ask if you are in a position to ask questions what the rules are. It's time to fight, man. Like when you're trying to win via scoring, when you're trying to look for a technical way out, I just think that's wrong.
And speaking towards that, I'm sitting there with a fight to go the distance, and I'm sitting there with the Romanov by decision, and I honestly thought that Espino should have won the decision. Did he not? Control a lot of the grappling, as the fight went on. And then I thought he won the very small portions of round 3. But, I guess the judges didn't agree.
I have to rewatch it. And it's all of them. How about the Luis Pena-Alex Munoz fight? I'm all over Munoz. To me, and again, I want to be as clear as I can be. I had a nice bet on Munoz. I thought he won 29-28. He won the first 2 rounds. Like, I get it. He was gassed that 3rd round. He did not look well. Luis Pena started to put it on him. It's not a 10-8, though, right? Okay, so last I checked, he won the first 2. You really can give him round 2, I guess? I don't know. I'll rewatch them all. I'm not crying robbery, but I really thought that it was.
Yeah, I thought that it was just very weird that the judges couldn't seem to get on the same page, and a lot of these fights they definitely see the Godinez and Pena fight.
That's another fight I don't want to rewatch, but I probably should because did she win?
Yeah.
Did Pena really win?
I'm not sure, and it's a question of control versus seeming damage, and trying to make strikes happen versus being put in a bad position but not really being able to convert on anything. And yeah, I thought that Godinez maybe should have taken it away, but I thought that she wasn't. She just didn't quite look like she was ready to take that fight. She kept putting herself in bad positions, so I'm not going to scream that.
Again, they were all really close fight. And I think that's one of the most interesting parts of this sport is that it can be the most decisive, the most specific in terms of, the ending. There is no debate about a clean knockout or when somebody's choked out. But that being said, when it goes to the judges' scorecards or even our opinions, it's become so objective. It's so strange.
Yeah, it really makes it difficult, especially with the state of MMA judging. I feel like they need to develop a different system than like the boxing 10-9 must, and maybe add more judges, but that just might make more split decisions and draws. And I know we like to say normalized draws, and maybe there are some fights that could be called a draw, but I think, ultimately people really do like to see a winner, and there should be a system that putting together everything should be more objective.
But what if a round is a draw? What if we just feel like, man, that was a close round? Like, that's about as close as it gets.
Well, yeah, that promotes more draws overall.
If
and
I feel
don't
like
argue with that.
So that's okay. Like, but I feel like if you have to go, oh well, I guess I'll give it to them because whatever. You just make up a reason. Like I don't know that that's like an actual effective way of scoring. That's the whole point that invites the subjectivity. Obviously, there's specific unified rules you're supposed to follow.
Yeah, and it makes it very tough because each person's viewpoint on a fight is very different, and it's very hard for people to stay completely unbiased from what they think wins a fight versus 100%. What the rules say win a fight. So,
which is why
we could really get into that all day
which I don't
and
want to
everything.
at all.
And I really think that we touched on everything that we really came on, wanting to look at. I think, we're looking at a really fun pay-per-view this coming weekend. Usman versus Masvidal 2.
So excited for that.
UFC 261.
And I guess
3 title fights.
Oh my God, so exciting! I cannot wait for that. That's incredible. I mean, even a couple fights ahead of that. If we look a couple fights further, Reyes Prochazka. That card is going to be unreal. I'm just hoping that this all stays together while I'm talking about this. Sandhagen Dillashaw. I don't know. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but I feel like somebody's going to pull out, though. We're not going to get that fight in May 8th. I swear, I really hope we freaking do, because that is like, oh my goodness. I can't wait for that. I want to see Dillashaw get knocked out bad. I really do. And then, of course, UFC 262.
Yeah, we're moving
May
right
15th.
along.
We're moving fast. I know there's just so many interesting fights, so many great fights ahead. Thanks so much for sticking with us. Hope everybody's staying safe, enjoying this glorious 420 in the healthiest way that you can.
Yeah, make sure you give us a follow on all of our social media. I'm at TB Scouting MMA, and with me here today,
the _MMA guru for the time being, anyway. That's where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Verdict, Tapology. Linktree is always in the bio with all our stuff.
Yeah, Chronic Combat Conversations, or at Chronic Combat on Twitter. And, we hope to keep on getting out a couple more episodes, bringing on a couple more guests, and making this a more regular thing.
Yeah, we actually, speaking of which, that's a good thing. Speaking of which, that is really good. We have a special guest coming on this weekend.
Yeah, for the pay-per-view.
For the pay-per-view.
Should we divulge, or do you think we should keep that a surprise?
I think we'll keep it a surprise for now.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll be letting you guys know soon enough.
Thanks so much. Take care.